for me, it's always this ministry of invitation. It's like, we want you to come and see. For some people, it's going to be like, this is the coolest thing ever. For other people, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go do something else. And that's great. But if people don't come, you don't have ways to engage them and to sort of continue what you think is essential work. We're also like the best deal in the world. So $55 a day gets you, a room, food, transportation, the opportunity to engage with one of the most interesting cultures on the planet. So it's really, it's a remarkable thing. Those are some of our long-term volunteers. These are folks who spend 2 or 3 months in San Lucas. So all of the programming is run by Guatemalans, but we have people who, from the US, who then act as liaisons with the groups that come. So people who speak Spanish. And we always want to say, if you know of young people that are just good, solid people that would, we love our long-term volunteers. And, people will do a gap year, people will do a summer. It's an extraordinary opportunity to experience another culture, to see what development work really looks like, and to do it in a place that's really, really interesting. Some of the things I already mentioned. I'm running out of time. I got to get back to the hole in the ground. So 2008, we'd been working in this community called Nueva Providencia. And this is before I'm working for the community or for the mission. I was taking groups there. And I had taken a group there, and then group went home. I was gone for a few days and coming back to the community to finish up a few loose ends with them. We would work design projects with the community. And when I was leaving, there were a group of engineers there, and they said, we've got a backhoe coming in, which is like, it's like saying we're going to bring an aircraft carrier into Cannon Falls or something. I mean, just like, what? He goes, yeah, we had a backhoe coming in. And I said, great, we're trying to build a French drain for this laundry, for this water system. French drain, big hole in the ground full of rocks, water flows in, it just percolates into the ground. So it's like, great, why don't you just have a couple of scoops, dig us a hole. So I come back after having been gone for 3 or 4 days, and I've got my backpacks, and I'm staying in the community, and I'm walking up the road, and I see this hole, and I'm just like, what have I done? I don't, it's like, it literally was the size of this room. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't fix this. And I'm standing there looking at this hole, like wishing it would go away. Pretty soon, one guy comes and stands next to me, and one guy, so I'm like, this is grande.
Yeah.
Sí.
Yeah.
Muy grande. Sí, grandissimo. We're just like, oh, come on. Everybody's like, this is so big. And so I said, what are we going to do? I mean, it's like, what am I going to do? I feel like I've totally messed something up, like I've created this problem that I can't fix, and it's going to become their problem. Because I've got like 2 or 3 days, and then I got to go. And I really did feel horrible. And so I kind of click into, all right, I got a problem, I got to solve it, let's go, So I'm chatting with him, and I said, look, I can go, I'd go into town, go to the hardware store, I'll order a bunch of rock.
Yeah.
Because we got to fill this thing up with rock.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's going to cost a lot of money. And then they would say, look, we're going to talk in Cachiquel to each other for a little bit, because when you're really working a problem, you want to speak in your mother tongue. And so they do that, and then they turn to me and they go, well, we know a guy with a pickup truck, and maybe we can go to the river and get a few rocks, and then blah, blah, blah. And this keeps going back and forth, and half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm starting to get really impatient. And they're, of course, not at all impatient because they're working the problem. And so finally they kind of turn to me and they go, okay, here's what we're going to do. Everybody in the community has a pile of rock in their yard, right? I mean, it's volcanic soil. If you do anything, you're going to run into rocks. So everybody's got a little pile of rocks. He goes, And they said, so what we're gonna do is for every 2 kids you have in your family, you're gonna contribute 1 cubic meter of rock. And it's not gonna cost us a cent. And I'm like, you guys are brilliant. So one guy sits down with a notebook, he starts writing down names of people, and it was this magical thing. It's like nobody called anybody, all of a sudden people just started bringing rock. Women carry it on their heads because that's where women carry things. Men were carrying it on their backs. 12-year-old girls with 30-pound rocks on their heads, coming. And it just, and this hole got filled that day.
Wow.
And the next day we had a big party. We put down the filter fabric, we ran the pipes in, and we filled it back in with the dirt on top, and it was great, and it didn't cost a cent, and everybody was engaged. Everybody got involved with the program. Everybody helped solve the problem. They saved my butt big time. And it was at that point that I just said, I love you guys. You guys are brilliant. And I have so much to learn about how you work as a community, how you solve problems, and how you kind of keep going. And for me, that was the moment at which it's like, boy, if I can do this the rest of my life, I'm gonna be
It's
happy.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, why did they dig that hole to begin in the first place?
Why did they?
In the first place, before they knew it was gonna be so big?
Well, it was it's a bit of part of a longer story. One of the things that happens in development work is groups come into communities and say, hey, it looks like you need X. You need a water system. You need an electrical system. You need a road. You need this. And unless there's a lot of engagement with the community about what the actual needs are, a lot of things just get imposed on communities. So the entire developing world is full of water systems that don't work. Because an organization came in, put in a water system, it was expensive to maintain, complicated, it broke, and nobody knows how to fix it, you don't have the money to fix it, and so on. And this was actually a part of an issue like that, where an organization had come in, done something, it stopped working, and then you just go back to what you were doing before. I was just in another community, and I'll stop here, but a few weeks ago, they had a water tank, and they said the water tank doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, and they said, oh, the water tank's been here 11 years and it's not worked for 6 months. I'm like, huh, so, let's figure out what's going on. And then I kind of say back to them, so the water tank's been here for 11 years and it hasn't worked for 6 months. And they're like, no, the water tank has been here for 11 years. It only worked for 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
And so for 10 and a half years, a big chunk of this community didn't have water. Again, because something was put in, nobody understood how it worked, nobody had the resources to fix it, and nobody was paying attention. And so that's the piece that I think we can bring to this situation because we're geographically focused and we keep going back, and we've been there for almost 60 years. We can not let that kind of stuff happen, but it takes a lot of paying attention. Yeah, and it's really this piece to this kind of work that's really difficult is how do you find the appropriate level of development using the appropriate technology without simply imposing what I think you should have. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions? Any questions?
Well, I just want to make a notation. Father Greg Schaefer was from this area.
His parents are, his grandparents, I believe, lived in Eastville. And his parents, I believe, are buried there.
And he had at least, I think, 3 sisters living here in Cannon.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Or aunts.
Yeah,
they were related.
Maybe probably aunts. His sisters now live, he's got a couple that are still alive that live up in Egan.
This is Harry Pagel, Teresa Pagel, Phyllis